Indigenous knowledge has been broadly defined as knowledge that has been gathered over thousands of years through observation, through practicing, through this kind of adaptive management process. The lack of this knowledge has been one of the wicked problems that has been presented within the Missouri Botanical Garden. Our research group has been tasked with forming questions for surveys and focus groups to grab the insight on Mobot's opinions on the lack and inclusion of Indigenous knowledge. This semester entailed using qualitative and quantitative methods to argue and analyze the scopes of questions we had over Indigenous knowledge.
The whole world view really emphasizes the integral role of people in the ecosystem, and they acknowledge that human well-being really depends on maintaining some kind of a reciprocal relationship with nature.
We created a survey for some of the staff at the Missouri Botanical Gardens asking several questions about Indigenous knowledge and where it's at in the gardens. Unfortunately, we did not get the amount of responses that we aimed for, but the few responses we did get were helpful. We had 7 responses from staff members ranging from librarians to department leads. In our survey, there was a question asking how Indigenous knowledge is portrayed within the garden, and a majority of the responses said that Indigenous knowledge is overall lacking within the garden. Another question we asked is, where would you rank the priority of Indigenous knowledge within the garden? This visualization shows the range of answers ranging from 3 to 8, with the average being a 5.71. This means that through the perspective of the garden employees, the priority of including Indigenous ranks among the top priorities. Even though we didn't get the number we needed for the surveys, we worked with what information we had and used the information to make inferences to build a focus group questionnaire.
Through our time doing surveys in the garden, we learned a lot of useful information. We learned different areas where Indigenous knowledge is lacking. Most of our interviewees mentioned how Indigenous knowledge needs to be implemented throughout the whole garden. Additionally, it needs to be celebrated throughout the garden year-round, rather than just having a month or a week for Indigenous peoples. On the other hand, most of our responses concluded that we need to be respectful when sharing information about their knowledge. We need to make sure we are speaking on behalf of the different cultures and share their experiences. In the eyes of the staff at the Missouri Botanical Gardens, there are some areas of strength and weakness involving Indigenous knowledge. They do a great job at celebrating this knowledge through Indigenous Peoples Month. However, representation is lacking throughout the garden and the rest of the year. The garden needs to improve on making sure the plants are being connected to the people they impact or the spaces they are coming from.
We can better include Indigenous knowledge in the gardens by evenly dispersing the knowledge, whether that is by showcasing exhibits or through signage for the plants in the garden. Another way we can showcase this knowledge is by including Indigenous knowledge within the information talked about on tours and with guest speakers. Overall, we plan on tackling all of these inclusions in the next semester. Thank you.